Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. And apologies for the delay, but we have some very big announcements that are expected from the Prime Minister this evening. He is giving his address right now, and we were waiting to hear what they would be before we started the episode. But we don't want to delay any longer. So as we start this episode, the Prime Minister is announcing new measures to combat the surge in COVID cases in Jamaica because of the Delta variant. So tonight's episode is very, very salient to what we are experiencing right now in Jamaica, in the Caribbean, and beyond. Okay, let's get started. Welcome back. We took a little break. We had to take a little vacation to reset, and now we're back and ready to go. Rochelle, though, is actually on a well-deserved break for the next 2 weeks, so I will be standing in for her, our beloved host, Rochelle. I'm Lysandra Ricketts. I'm the founder and CEO of Soul Career, a professional training and development company that works with corporates and individuals to develop their most important asset, their people. Good night. Welcome. I'm seeing some great comments. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Rochelle. Hi, Bevelyn. Thank you so much for joining us. I know we have some big news going on tonight, so I'm so glad you made the decision to come and be with us here at CovidCastJA. All right, so I've been doing some work behind the scenes with the PSOJ on their training programs. So now I'm happy to meet the amazing COVIDCast audience live. And tonight's topic is really important, as I said, because so much is changing. There's so much uncertainty that we're experiencing right now. So tonight we are discussing preparing for and mitigating against risks with our very own Nevada Powe, Chief Project Architect for the PSOJ Access to Finance program. We have missed him so much on the show, and we're so excited to have him back tonight. We will also be joined by Tyrone Williams, Head of Operations for a local SME, Jamlite Innovations Limited. So we're really excited to hear their take on how we can manage all the risks and uncertainty that we're facing right now. So before we dive in, remember, as always, to subscribe to COVIDCast SME Memos. We had a fantastic memo tonight. If you were on our mailing list, you would have gotten that memo about managing risks in your business. And if you're not on our mailing list, please go to smallbusinessportal.com, click in the COVIDcast section, and enter your email address so that you can get subscribed and get these amazing training memos that we produce for you every week. And as always, thank you to our sponsors, JMMB and NCB, without whom this would not be possible. So let's dive in. All right. So in one of our most recent episodes on the future of work, we were introduced to this concept of VUCA, right? VUCA, which stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. These are the times that we're living in right now. And we, as business owners, as individuals, we have to be flexible, adaptable, and resilient to change. So our first guest today, Nevada, is going to help us figure out exactly how to do that. Nevada Powe is an experienced management consultant, technology entrepreneur, and business educator. He has over 25 years of expertise in business consulting, banking, consumer goods, and technology, business strategy, operational implementation, and marketing communications. What can't Nevada do? Him can do everything. He was previously a partner in the New York office of the Boston Consulting Group, a leading global management consulting firm where he advised Fortune 500 companies in financial services and marketing strategies. He earned his MBA at Harvard Business School. So did I. We were a few years apart, Nevada, in that school.
I think so. I was there much later than you. Is that right?
Oh, yes. That's sure. Yes, of course. And he graduated as valedictorian from Amherst College. Welcome, Nevada.
Thank you. Thank you very much. How are you doing, Lysandro?
I'm good, and it's so good to see you looking so good and ready and raring to go tonight.
Yes, a tense evening though.
Yes.
Once we hopefully hear from the final unveiling of what the Prime Minister is going to say. But of course, as you and I have discussed, we expected this was coming and hope that many of our businesses out there also were expecting it. And therefore, the whole topic is risk and how do we manage that anticipated and unanticipated risk. Now, last year, obviously before COVID started, COVID would have been an unanticipated risk.
Yeah.
This year, at this juncture, it is a very much anticipated risk. So it now becomes part of the landscape of how you think about business. It's not just, oh, what can happen, like an earthquake, a hurricane, a pandemic. No, we're in the midst of a pandemic, which is clearly on its own schedule. We may be done with COVID, but COVID is not done with us.
And what's unanticipated now is the changes in the curfew and the lockdown and the timing. Like that week, it's so hard to predict and anticipate. But you're right, COVID seems like it's here to stay. So Nevada, my question for you is, what kind of risks are we looking at now in a pandemic world, and how can we manage them?
Okay. Let me step back a little though, just to provide some context vis-a-vis risk itself. Because what I don't want also to everyone to think that pandemic is the only thing that creates risk. And we do not, very often small businesses in Jamaica and some big businesses, let's be honest, don't think necessarily about risk. So you get business plans without the haircut, which, the whole of us learn how to do. You get projections that don't have a view as to, well, what about this, what about that? So what kinds of things, what kind of risk does a business face? There is country and economic risk, right? So the entire economy or large sectors of an economy can be affected. And that can be because there is recession, depression, inflation, devaluation, could be natural disasters, hurricane, this, that thing. So all of that is part of every single business in a particular geographic area can be affected. If your business has a supply chain, the rest of your supply chain can be affected by this. So maybe you're buying stuff from China, and China's had a hurricane. So even though we in Jamaica, we're not impacted immediately by a hurricane or an earthquake in China, we are, because a lot of our businesses here import from China. So there's what you call country types of risk. Then you have what you call, second one is what I call strategic landscape competitive industry risk, which can affect an industry. So that's when there's a shift in industry power that was not expected. Take, for example, Blockbuster. Where you're up for Blockbuster? Blockbuster was the place you rent video. You got a Friday night, you got to pick up video.
Not that young, Nevada.
Then this thing, Netflix and them streaming come along, completely wiping out an entire established industry, right? Or the other one I like to use is like long distance, right? Remember, you had to call when you have a family at home, especially your kid at college. Mommy, call me back, click, because you can afford for the whole of a long distance call, right? So all of these companies, Flow, Digicel, all those companies that used to have what's called a very hefty long distance business, suddenly that whole thing has moved to WhatsApp and Zoom and all kind of things, and that is never coming back, right? So these chunks of businesses get lost, shift due to competitive changes. Second risk, strategic industry competitive risk. The third is what I call operational risk, where your processes and operations go awry. Could be a machine, could be have a layer breakdown, could be you get bad information and you do something wrong in your company, could be all kinds, could be you having quality deterioration and not be sure why. You could lose your key personnel. Maybe you have your thing where it's one man know how to operate the piece of machine. By the way, whole different companies are like that. The man dead and nobody know what to do. Or somebody build a technology and then say, oh, we just hire a new tech person. Whole heap of time, there's not enough documentation, not enough nothing, and everybody run down. This particular thing, I always thought it was funny. When Norma Shirley died, I know most of the people don't know Norma, but Norma Shirley is one of our best chefs, and she had an amazing pumpkin soup. Lord Jesus, Norma never tell nobody the recipe. When Norma dead, You go to the restaurant now 2-3 weeks later and you order the pumpkin soup. You can't get down a pumpkin soup again. Because now I'm dead with the recipe, right? That is operational risk.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have compliance and regulatory risk, right? Now that is where, especially in a heavily regulated industry, where things change. So you take something like the microfinance industry. Everybody go pay loan industry and so on, right? And has just recently become regulated according with regulations and rules from the Bank of Jamaica. Now, if you read the regulatory rules from Bank of Jamaica and you understand who many of the microfinance players are, you recognize that many of these companies, first of all, may not be able to even fully interpret some of the laws, much less comply.
Mm-hmm.
So there, we're going to have to figure out a way now. How do you help them bridge the gap between the new laws that govern what they do and who they are in terms of their ability? I'm not saying all of them, but many of them will find it difficult even to do it. So you have regulatory risk in an industry that was actually not risky at all. Not risky at all because of regulation. Then you have reputation risk.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be a company brand. There's a famous case of, Tylenol, where somebody put poison on the Tylenol things and suddenly the company's in trouble. They did a good job of managing it. You can have, could be personnel, could be brand, any of that stuff. You have somebody like an Elon Musk, who is his personal statements actually affect the Tesla stock price.
Mm-hmm.
So a CEO who's like a little out there, Jeff Bezos, for example, has been, he is Amazon, but there's a way in which he's very careful about the way he behaves, penis pictures notwithstanding. He's very careful about the way he behaves, that the Amazon stock price is unaffected by what he is doing in his private life. We're unaware. Elon Musk, no, not anywhere the same. So the company is always at risk to what is Elon Musk's tweet this particular week. So you have company reputation risk.
Yeah.
Then there's financial risk, which is the sixth type of risk. And financial risk is when your capital structure, how your business is funded, is not good for the way your business operates. So here, what I mean by that. So say, for example, you are in a Christmas business, a seasonal business, a Christmas business. So you sell in, Santa Claus decorations at Christmas. But in order for you to get the supply in time for Christmas, you actually have to buy the supply from China or whatever in June. You don't have enough cash to buy the supply, so you go to the bank, you get a loan. The bank loan is going to require that you pay back that loan every month, right? So you borrow it in June, you get owe money in July, August, September, October, November, and you don't start selling to December. But your business sales don't happen until December. So you have a capital structure, a finance structure that is ill-suited to your operational structure. And depending on how out of whack that is, your business can be taken down by insufficient working capital. So that's financial risk. So again, broadly, the risk is country economic risk, strategic landscape shifting risk, operational risk, compliance regulatory risk, reputation risk, and financial risk. Those are the main types of risks that there are. No.
Okay. Wait, so Nevada, before you continue, I want to ask the people listening, Rajesh, Sandra, and Rochelle, and so on, what kind of risks are you seeing based on what Nevada just outlined? Are you seeing any of those categories of risks in your business or elsewhere? We would love to hear from you as we continue. So Nevada, for me personally, I own a small business, and out of the seven or six?
Six, yeah.
6 types of risks that you outlined.
Yes.
I think the biggest one for me was really strategic risk.
Yes.
When I started my company, it's a training and coaching company. I primarily was going direct to consumers on social media, doing ads and getting clients individually into my company. But the cash flows were inconsistent following that strategy. And so I had to pivot, especially during COVID, to selling to businesses, B2B, in order to get consistent stream of predictable cash flows in the company so that we could grow from there and go back direct to consumer. So that was a strategic risk that I didn't think about enough at the beginning, but then I had to pivot. So is that a good example?
No, that's actually an excellent example. So, for example, here's the thing that hindsight is 2020, but anybody else that advising in a type of business where it has lumpy inflowing cash flow, two things you would now do, or I would recommend that if you were talking to Lysandra a year ago, right? First thing is you have to make your investors understand that a straight line projection is not going to be the story. So you first have to sell them on the jugu, right? the up down. You have to sell them on that first as part of the mission. Then what you may have to do is also ensure that your cost structure is not necessarily consistent. So for example, even if it is cheaper to have people on permanently, it may be better to actually pay a high number to make everybody be temporary. Yeah. So you adjust your cost structure to the business as opposed to saying, boy, if I give somebody a full-time job, I can pay them $40,000 a year or whatever it is, and therefore a management cost. However, if the thing is lumpy, you may actually say, let me be willing to pay somebody $60,000 a year in a more lumpy, I'm going to call you Tuesday, I'm going to call you Thursday, I'm going to call you next week, I'll call you a month from now, in order to better absorb the risk. So it's how you rethink your cost structure also in terms of how you do it. Now, obviously, the moment your revenue gets to a point where it's more steady, then you say, okay, now can I bring on people? Yes. But what happens is you think, oh, let me keep my cost structure low, and the best thing is to hire people. No, let me think of the structure of the revenue and what is the cost structure that I need to have? What is the financing that I need to have? For example, what you just suggested, you would never go to a bank. You would have been a mad person because, again, remember the bank is going to tell you, money due, money due. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I never get no customers this week. Who cares? That's your problem. My money is due. So you have to think completely end to end about what is the revenue. I don't mean the dream revenue either. So when you've done your revenue projections, you go to your friend who's the skeptic. Like you come to somebody like me who said, every month your revenue going to grow 10%. Oh, I see. And when was the last time my business just open them door and every year them grow 10%? Who knock you around and show you, all right, get real, girl. And you say, okay, let me put a haircut to this. It's not going to grow 10%. 1 month you're going to grow 10%. Next month we now get nothing. You put a more realistic structure around it and you match the financing and the cost structure with the revenue.
Yeah. So that is a great way to mitigate that risk that we talked about, which I want you to jump into the structure and the framework for us to think about mitigating risk in the face of everything that but before you do, we just heard the announcement from the Prime Minister on what the new measures are going to be. Yes. There will be 7 no movement days starting this Sunday. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday are no movement days in Jamaica. This is just coming in fresh from the Prime Minister. And then the following Sunday again, and Monday and Tuesday. So we're going into weekday no movement days. So Nevada, what category of risk is that?
Okay. All right. Okay.
Yes.
So this is multiple things. First of all, to be honest, if you were watching as again without the glass side, what's been going around the world, the rise of the Delta variant and so on, right? As it kind of people just regularly read the news, right? Not crazy conspiracy thing, but just saying, okay, you would have a sense that something is coming.
Yeah.
So when the Prime Minister said, whoa, we were excitement, we're going forward, there were those who were like, and I put it like myself, but I'm always considered Cassandra, bad news, but it's because I'm always thinking, what if? So, and I was, yes, open business. And I get a lot of calls from small businesses, and I'm saying about open business. Yes, the Prime Minister open up thing. And I'm always like, wait. right? Wait, especially if your opening requires you to borrow money on a payment structure that is going to require you to be making irrespective of what's going on. No, again, remember somebody who's just sitting on a lot of cash. They can make any damn decision they want, right? Open, door open, wait to open, sit to open. That is one thing. But I'm going to say 99% of businesses in Jamaica don't have that problem, right? Most people are in a sort of wait and see. You pull a little money now to pay a little bit of bills then. That whole thing that's going on. And in fact, this is what we are facing.
Yes.
Now, so the Prime Minister announced these no work days. The crucial number to watch, and I wish the Ministry of Health published this every day, or at least every week, so that the whole country understands, is how full, what is the available capacity in the hospital?
Zero.
But not like, right, no, but not like in a buried way. And let the entire country know that when the number reached to 0, 90%, 80%, whatever it is, we're going on lockdown.
Yeah.
Because you need the people to start also policing ourselves. So you call me now when we're at a 70% lockdown, 70% at the 70% capacity at the hospital. I say, hey Nev, wanna come out? Me and my friends are hanging out. I'd be like, me not come on, no hang out. The hospitals are at 70%. And Lysandra, you are irresponsible for throwing a big party at this time. So don't call me. You can call me when the hospitalization rate is like 30-40%. I'll come to your party. But I'm not going to anybody's party when the hospitals are already at 70% because I know what's coming. Lockdown.
So what you are talking about, Nevada, is planning, the government giving us some predictability for us to be able to plan better for the risk. So Sandra Palmer is saying that these restrictions are operational risk to a company. Dr. Colette Smith is saying it's a country-specific risk. So we're trying to find the category that these curfew hours, these lockdown hours really fall into. And then what you are suggesting is for the government to allow business to adequately mitigate the operational risks of these fluctuating times, we need to have better preparation by telling us when these signals happen, when these milestones are reached, this is what will happen. Give us more clarity so that we can plan better for it.
Correct. So for example, and nobody will say this, right? And this is also the problem. So he started with 7 days. If the hospitalization rate continues to go up, even after we have 7 days, then people, mark my words, there will be more lockdown. Do not kid yourself. You have to make the connection that nobody else is necessarily making for you, right? The number of days locked down is dependent on the hospitalization rates and our ability to manage.
You're preaching. You're preaching, Nevada.
Do not assume the 7 days is some magic number that will remain 7 days. 7 days can become 30 days.
Don't say that, Nevada.
No, that is the problem. Nobody wants to say this. So let me say it. And let all the small businesses understand that the possibility of more dramatic lockdown exists as long as that resource-constrained hospital system cannot manage. So understand also in terms of personal responsibility, when you decide not to be vaccinated, when you decide that you are going to go to the big party because who gives a F you, whatever. When you decide, I'm going to get on the bus and don't wear a mask because I know my rights. Understand that itself can cause half of the economy to be shut down in a few weeks. That your silly personal decision can destroy not just your family. They keep telling you, it's not your family, the entire economy. Your decision not to wear a mask on the bus can take down the Jamaican economy. So do not be fooled by, you need to take care of your old people. You need to take care of things. No, you may lose your job.
Yeah.
You may lose your job.
You
Your
hear
mother may
the
lose her job.
passion.
You know, so we have to make the connection about how. And what's unfortunate is I find that not enough people in the leadership positions are being sufficiently clear about how the pieces interconnect, because they do interconnect. So yes, Android said 7 days lockdown now. That 7 days can go to 1 day if the hospitalization rate goes down. That 7 days can go to 30 days if with the Delta variant that is insufficient. So the question then to the country is, what will you do personally? Will you try to keep the economy open?
Yeah.
Or do you want it closed?
So Nevada.
You
Yes. So Nevada.
Yes.
So I want to bring this back now to some of the things you wrote in this memo, which is a phenomenal memo. If you guys want to really understand how to manage your risks in the business, please make sure to download it. I want to bring it back to now we know what the risks are. Now we've categorized them. How do we actually manage and mitigate against these risks?
Okay. So there are a bunch of questions that I've outlined in the memo that you guys should check on, right? And I call them the 14 key questions or actions that you have to take. The first one is, should you actually reopen your business or continue to wait?
Mm-hmm.
And I get this call, some small business call me all the time. Boy, you know, it look like things are open up now. We are going to open up Nevada. And I always ask the same question. What is your cost of reopening and closing again? And how will you finance that reopening and closing? And again, let me take two extremes. Somebody who's sitting on a lot of cash, for whom they cash-wise can afford to open and cash-wise they can afford to be closed, can certainly move ahead at their will.
Yeah.
Somebody who's not sitting on cash and is borrowing to open, and worse, borrowing on credit card to open with a high interest rate, is in a precarious position. Because if it is that you are low on money and you have taken on a financing structure that feeds into a business structure, a revenue structure that's jugo, right? Flat cost structure, jugo revenue can't work.
Yeah.
So be clear as you calculate as a business. Now, if your cost of your opening a business, let's go to the extreme. Coconut man out of street with him coconut, guess what? Go be free, do your thing. Because your cost of opening and closing, you just have to keep the cart at home or bring the cart out. Try your thing. Them open 3 days, you do your thing, go back in your yard, shut down for 3 days, try your thing. All right. But you have a factory. And you have to turn on the machine. And you have to turn on the whatever. And you have to boom. You have to go find new people. You have to go train new people. Well, whole heap of thing associated with the thing. You make sure that thing can be financed on a jugo revenue. Or you have to wait. Because it is not possible to assure yourself as to how long this erratic revenue, erratic demand, erratic opening and closing will occur.
Okay, Nevada, but let's get real. Let's get real as an entrepreneur, because entrepreneurs are inherently optimistic. And when it happened to me in my business in 2020, I did use the credit card to buffer, and I had to just pull everything out to make sure that I brought in business to business revenue, which helped me now. Now I've paid off all those credit cards that I racked up, but I had to pivot and use the credit card as a buffer during the jugo cash flow period. So that's the reality of entrepreneurs. So even though the ideal is we're not going to the credit card, everybody does. It's just a reality, right?
Yes. So but Lissandra, here's the thing that you had though.
Yes.
It's already clear that there was a way for you to pivot easily to get cash.
Was it clear? It's only clear in retrospect.
Yes, no, but I'm saying to you, hello, you also have a degree from Harvard Business School. So worst case scenario, it's probably not that hard for you to get a job.
Yeah.
So even you could have worked job at night. By the way, the internet, you could even have consulting job abroad.
Yes.
I know that. You have job abroad too, and you write report and whatever when things get hard, right? So here's the thing. You have to look at the entire perspective.
Yeah.
If you know what you would pivot to, if your core business is erratic, then put the things in ready for that as well. If you have the ability and skill to easily get a job, make sure you start have some of those phone calls.
I called you, Nevada. I called you.
Make sure your resume dust up. Because only for entrepreneurs do have a resume, I get, them done. Me not work for nobody else, I'm not working for anybody else. Yeah, sure. Yeah, time's hard, pick me up for feed, you'll work for somebody else. So therefore, put your ducks in a row. Try your core business, not saying that, but with the possibility that the revenue is erratic, make sure you have other ducks in a row. But if you cannot see your way to a pivot, you cannot see your way to a job easily, and you are financing your core revenue business with credit card, you are putting yourself in a more precarious position. So caution is wise. Yes.
I agree. And this is the importance of planning and mapping out scenarios, which not enough SMEs do in their business, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So when you recognize the risk, now you have to plan and say, if this happens, I'll do this. If scenario B happens, I'll do that. And that is how you start to manage these risks, as Nevada is saying. So continue, Nevada.
Yes, okay. And then the whole issue of cash on hand. We had a discussion already. The second issue is about cash on hand versus credit card versus stuff. So we had that issue. The third issue is you need to negotiate any moratoriums that you may need before you take on the obligation. What I mean by that, you're going to take on a loan from the bank. And most loans from a bank require a monthly payment. You're going to take on a lease, a new lease, let's say. And most landlords require a monthly payment.
Yeah.
Before you sign that lease, before you take on the loan, you need to pre-negotiate the conditions of a moratorium. So I go to the bank and I want to borrow X amount of money to do what I need to do. And I say to them, however, in the event that the economy is locked down, I would like you to give me a reprieve. Not that you're going to not eventually pay it back, but for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, or for as long as the economy is locked down, I would like to freeze my payments. Okay. By the way, the first bank might run you, and therefore you need to be starting conversations with 5 different banks at the same time. No, this can particularly work if your credit history historically, and this is what I will tell people, this is where credit history really matters. If for the last 10 years, I have been good about paying my loans back, blah, 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 but COVID is new territory, right? Even people who were good credits before COVID have gotten into trouble during COVID. So it's not that them bad mind, or them thief, or them whatever it is they genuinely honor their debts. But time's hard. I mean, time's really hard.
Yes.
So what you do then is you try and pre-negotiate what the moratorium is. And maybe the bank said, no, you can't take the payments to zero, but you only pay 10% of it or 15% of it or whatever it is. Similarly with a landlord, you get into a landlord space and say, I want to come to your space, but, if I open a retail store and then I can't open the store, how are you going to expect rent? So again, it's about recognizing the possibility and negotiating. Now, if you don't get any kind of reprieve, or if the bank says yeah, man, we'll work that out when time comes, and you say, hold on, the same bank them that take forever to give me the loan is now going to rush through my moratorium. Darling, wake up, smell the cappuccino, right? Negotiate it now. Because if it's hard for them to negotiate it now, then when your back is against the wall, it'll be even harder for you. So just be crystal clear about what the moratorium is you need and why you need it. It's not like you're going to any bank or any landlord and they say, COVID, what is COVID? Everybody knows, right? So it's, again, we've done a story. I think at the beginning we said, what's your story and what's the story you're telling? And the story I'm telling is I've 10 years of good credit. I've never missed my rent. I've never missed a payment on the bank. But now I need a reprieve. And I'm not signing the loan contract until I get a pre-approval for a few months.
Yes.
Then the issue of the cost structure.
Well, before you get there,
yes.
Nevada, there is a lot of chat going on a lot of comments in the chat from Craig, who is a small business owner.
Yes.
Just expressing shock and kind of a little bit of devastation as to the PM's lockdown measures and how stressful it's going to be on small businesses, right? Anxiety, executive anxiety, employee anxiety, small owner confusion is real. So I kind of want to categorize some of the solutions that you're giving us here. The most recent one, negotiate with your creditors. That would really fall under, is that transferring risk?
Yes.
Right?
Yes. I would say that's a bit of kind of that's what I would say. I'm trying to transfer the risk or share the risk, I should say. So you're not holding the entire because what you're actually saying, when you take on the entire COVID risk, you're taking on the risk of the entire Jamaican economy. You're taking on the risk of the entire world economy. So there it is, you with your little business, barely pay the people them, tight cash flow, and you're gonna take on that level risk. It's trying to mitigate, to push off some of the risk associated with operating in a time where your revenue is erratic.
So
you want to make sure, yes, go ahead. Yes.
Into the details, Nevada, that structure of the 4 things you can do when faced with risk, right?
Okay,
so
yes,
one is
yes.
Share the risk. What else can
right. So you can share the risk, or what I call outsource the risk.
Yeah.
Is one possibility, right? This is one of those things. You can avoid the risk, but in this case, in many other cases you can, which means we're just not going down the strategic path. Unfortunately, the COVID risk is not avoidable for anyone, even as an individual. But by the way, I will say this, and this is very interesting. I'm talking more as an individual, even less as a small business. I know everybody's depressed and everybody has it hard. And this is just such a not great time to be doing things. But if you allow that depression to make you more dispensable at work, you're actually making it worse for yourself. This is exactly the time where you need to make sure that you are indispensable.
Yes.
Because remember, managers and equity owners are watching you. So if you show up for work late, whereas before people may say, boy, say God bust bad, whatever. Remember, they are looking for a reason to cut. You do not need to give them a reason to cut. You need to be more on time than you usually are. You need to be outputting more than you usually do, so that when they start to cut the numbers, your name can't call. Because you have avoided the risk associated with low performance. And Lord, I'm depressed because of COVID. Lord, the picking them at home and I can't manage. Oh, okay. Make sure you what can't manage is. Lord, the picking at home and I can't manage. And now you don't have a job. Hello? Hello?
Right. I agree with you. But also you have to manage yourself to be able to show up at work too.
Absolutely.
It's a very tough time.
Holding the mental space in a way that allows you to excel, to hold the job and whatever your specific definition of excel, anyone's specific definition of excel is, but also not go crazy, right? This is the thing about where you hold the balance. And in Jamaica, the church is very good at that, relationship with God. For those who are in the Eastern mystical things, the yoga, the breathing, the reading, the podcast, the therapist, the grandmother. You go sit with your grandmother and make a cup of soup Saturday, because that may be the way. Or you go walk on the beach, right?
By the way, if I were to summarize what you're saying, Nevada, so one is to transfer or share the risk with someone else, which you talked about negotiating with a bank. And for me, it was getting business partners on board to share the risk of cash flows with me. The second is to avoid the risk. But you're saying, Nevada, we cannot avoid the risks that are happening right now. So we have to manage ourselves well and show up and become essential or indispensable at work in order to navigate through this period, because none of us can avoid COVID risk. So
Yes.
what's the third way of
the other way is what we call mitigate or reduce the risk, right?
Yes.
So you hedge by carefully managing your costs. You hedge by designing very tight processes. So the moment something goes awry, you fix it. So if you're somebody, for example, who tends not to micromanage, but the possibility of somebody, an employee, overspending in a particular area, which now has real impact. Whereas before you could say, oh, I don't mind him spending like more dollars than he should have on this thing. You may need to hold the reins tighter than you used to in order to reduce the chance that somebody overspends or that somebody does something that they, in another time, it would be things. The other thing you also need to put in, which is a little investing, but required, you may also need to put in a little redundancy. So something that can go bad, which before, again, all right, we'll fix it one day. You may say, no, these are what we call mission critical functions, and they can't go bad. So we have to double up on this, right? And
so not redundancy in the sense of laying people off,
yes,
right?
Yes,
but
yes.
redundancy in terms of having a backup to different mission critical areas.
Correct, absolutely. Then there's what I call, you just accept it, the risk, you go into the path, and then you budget for it. And again, it depends on the cash situation. So you try and price the product or service in such a way that it takes into account the fact that sometimes it won't work out. The extreme of this, what I would say, on the normal circumstances would be like, you take a farmer who lives in a hurricane region like ours, hurricane and earthquake or whatever, right? So he knows that some years the crop won't yield because just as it's about to yield, a great hurricane. But in another year, the crop will yield. He may have to price the products in such a way that covers the years in which he doesn't make money. So you have to think about where it's possible to budget. And again, I like your thing about the business partners, right? What can I get? So maybe your marketing firm says, the person that does your marketing, let's just say, is X amount of money to do the marketing that you want. You tell them, guess what? All right, you're charging $100 out here. I will pay you $200, but on a deferred payment. So I'm asking you now, so you tell me the price, you pay me $100 a month, and I accept that. But here's what I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you to give me the $100 a month worth of service. I'm going to pay you $50 a month but over the time, I'll pay you $200 a month for the service. So I'm asking you to take some of the risk with me. You as my marketing person, take some of the risk with me on the structure. And there's a price at which everything will clear. So it's about you trying to think, well, what's going to be my expensive cost? JPS now negotiate with you, so nobody got on that path. But there are other things that you start to be very careful about. But even the things when you do JPS could be, turn off the light, who will leave on the light, versus air conditioner run, versus you turn on the fan. Are everybody hot? And you have to have everybody fan me, soldier man, fan me. It could also be that because we gotta be running no AC. What you find, for example, the whole thing of like when you walk into a store and they turn on the air conditioner when you walk in. Right. All of that is ways in which you're saying, I'm accepting the risk and I'm just going to budget and act in a way that the risk is managed.
So let's use today's example, Nevada.
Yes.
So we have a situation where no business owner can be sure of what hours they're going to be allowed to open and operate their businesses, especially if they have a physical business place. I was at a retail store before I came on tonight, and the owner was very worried because she is on a razor thin margin right now. So we are now accepting the risk that we do not know what operating hours of business are going to look like for the next 6 months. How do we navigate once we've accepted this risk?
Understood. Okay. First thing is make sure you keep your cost structure low.
Yes.
And your staff complement lean. Now, this may require more work of you. So you as a business owner may be sweeping the floors because you don't want to undertake the cost of paying somebody to clean the thing. But guess what? At some point, even as a teenager, you used to sweep floor. So you have to think about, who do I need? What cost do I have to incur and operate in that structure? even if you're having a quote unquote good month, recognizing that a lean month may be coming, so you actually structure what I call the minimum staff required and the minimum cost required to work.
Yes.
Your friend has a retail store. Maybe what she does, she should put up a partition in the middle of the store, and she only air condition the front part of the store. You know, you have to be creative about how am I going to mitigate. Maybe it is that she have a retail store, but her things not selling so fast. So she get her cousin to come into the store with her, and the cousin selling his things as well. So the two of them together is sharing the JPS bill. You have to be creative.
No, with 3 weekdays of full lockdown,
Yes.
now she has to negotiate with the landlord. There's no other alternative to that.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Ansel Cadian has a comment here also. He said, finding, if you guys could put it on the screen for me, finding the who to collaborate with is really important to getting through these times.
Okay, so here's the thing though, and I say this now in all of the times, and it is very crucial that everybody in business, you build a network of people before you're in a crisis.
Yes.
Because once you're in the crisis, what happens is then you can draw on that network. It is very difficult in the crisis if you didn't spend your time building a relationship. Lysandra, she only partially kidding, but she will call me at 11 o'clock at night and say, no matter what I must do. It's like, but it's because we have and I accept the call because we have a pre-existing relationship. Yeah. So it's very crucial to surround yourself, in addition to obviously you have your friends you like and just hang out with, but also to surround yourself with capable people who you can lean on in times of crisis. So who to collaborate with is partly around how good have you been in building a network of people that can help buffer you through this period.
Yes.
But if you are now in the middle of COVID trying to find that network, dog and damn your supper. Because everybody, I look forget them buffer from the people them know. So new people not necessarily going to get buffer now. So you really, really have to cultivate your network over a lifetime. And then, you know, that's where that comes to play. And it's about people you trust, people who are capable, and people you can call on without shame. Because that's the other thing, you know, we are too embarrassed by our situation. And we're not cleanly open and saying, no, but you know, we not meet rent, you know. So we still send the pick to them to Hillel, and we can barely feed them. Hello, talk to talk to them. Maybe it's time to move them out of Hillel. I don't know. But you're so shame that you know how to, so it's kind of like, no.
So we need the community now more than ever.
We need the community now. The other thing that you would do is you cross-train your staff.
Yes.
Has to be at this time. Your bookkeeper may also be your waiter. Your waiter may also be managing your social media, because you watch how they do their own social media page, and you're like, no, this man can do it better than the company that's going to hire. Again, the cross-training of staff, and again, it's also the onus of the employee to say, hey boss, you know I'm a good sweeper too. I keep my house clean at home. I'm happy to sweep. I know I'm the accountant, but I'm also happy to sweep. Right? So take yourself out of the people that hired me for this job. I mean, I do nothing else. Or something stay. Remember, got in my yard. Yeah. Okay. No, you also want to make yourself indispensable. You as the employer, the small business person, want to cross-train. You as the employee want to be cross-trained and cross-helpful in order to maintain your necessity to the business. Then there's something a little odd, which I know people think a little crazy. For the people that you decide to keep, the smaller complement of people you decide to keep, actually pay them more. One of the worst mistakes we make is that you ask somebody to take on a bigger job and then try to pay them less. You are building resentment. They may even take it because of the time, but they will never do extra for you. And when you are not looking, They're not going to thief from you. They're not going to destroy you. They will not be looking out for your business. So you think you penny pinching, whatever, and you ask the people them for work till midnight because you left 100 people and 20 people now must carry the 100 people work, right? This you have to acknowledge. John, last year I asked you to do these 5 things. This year during COVID, I'm asking you to do 10 things. I can't pay you all your value to the company now, but I'm going to give you a smalls on top of what you have. And the moment we get back to a proper cash flow, we're going to call it COVID hardship bonus, and we're going to come back and reel and come again, right? Yes. You have set your employees on a path with you to save the company, right? Yes. Remember, every one of your employees, the thing that Lysandra talk about, that mental thing they're all going through, right? They also are in a negative space, impacted by job insecurity, national inflation devaluation, stress of kids working at home, and fear of disease. Everybody's has those concerns now. So focus broadly on, again, I'm not saying hire everybody you staff and then get them up. No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying reduce the staff, reduce your costs, but the ones who are going on a tight journey with you, make sure them know that they are very valuable to you.
Yes, financially. And you mentioned the importance of setting expectations. Yes. It's the same thing that we're talking about with the Prime Minister, managing the expectations of the nation, managing the expectations of your staff so they can plan and they can see a path forward. So if you're going to reduce staff but keep some on and raise, or say when we hit this milestone, I'm bringing you back, just give them a plan so they can plan. And that's what we want from the Prime Minister too. Like, don't just spring on us and blindside us. Give us milestones so we can plan for them better.
Absolutely.
As a nation. All right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay.
We have a few more before we wrap up.
Yes, before we wrap up. So it's actually also critical just to conserve cash, both business cash and personal cash. I don't know, you've been looking at that dress that you had dead for buy, blah, 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 whatever. No, it's not the time to buy the new dress. Because again, one of the most dangerous emotional things that people can do is when shopping is your therapy. This is the worst time for shopping to be the way you relieve therapy, because that is going to cause you more stress. And if you're going to shop more because shopping is your therapy, and then you're going to be more stressful because you don't have the cash.
Stop calling me out, Nevada.
I'm not calling anybody out, but I'm calling. There are many people, obviously, Lysandra, there are many people like that. You have to be extra careful. Or no, it's not the time to be refurbishing the house. Oh yes, time to refurbish. I mean, again, I speak not to the people who have a lot of cash. If you have money, can throw nothing. Buy all the dress you want, refurbish all the thing you want. I'm talking to most people who are on the edge. And they're trying to manage the cash flow.
You are asking us to give up everything. You're talking about discipline in a time of severe mental and emotional stress.
Yes.
It is extremely difficult to give up every single thing that gives you any kind of pleasure right now.
Yes. Right? No. The thing is the thing about moderation, right? So the issue is maybe you like to go out to dinner, but maybe before you used to go to like the big fancy restaurant and sit down. But maybe you and your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your family can go sit jerk side.
Yeah.
And thing, maybe you can have a picnic in Hope Gardens. Carry a basket, carry a sandwich, make it lovely. Put some flowers. There's a way in which you don't have to take away the things. You just be open with your imagination.
Yes. And preserve cash at all costs.
And preserve cash, business and personal cash at all costs, because you don't know how long we are in this. And that is critical. Next, invest in digital platforms.
Yes, of course.
Such as a website or access to services that that people can access your service or product through online, right? To improve your operational effectiveness, to reduce your cost of sales and marketing. When I look at, and by the way, one of the things that fascinated me about this time is the number of people who have actually built businesses. When you look at Kalila Reynolds, she's probably become far greater under COVID.
Yes.
Her star has risen tremendously Because why? She has refocused her effort. See, online is not just a marketing thing. Online itself is taking over a lot of life itself. You see, old people like me used to think that, oh, online is just one of them. It's not a gimmick now. Much of life itself is moving online.
My entire business is online. My entire team is remote.
I was just gonna say, and your entire business now is online, without an office, without a physical space, and the people you're working with are from all over the world. So this is a way to think very specifically about your digital presence, your digital platform, and how do you monetize it. And good examples: Kalila Reynolds, Lysandra Rickards, Crystal Tomlinson. These are people who have managed to up their online presence and also monetize it, right? So don't take this boy, I can't afford no digital investment now. Can't afford no website now. Can't afford to make people have remote access to my service. No, this is precisely the time. This is one of the things that you actually have to invest in, right? Next issue is about the times of your commitment. Do not make long-term commitments like new leases, new loans, etc., which can cause you trouble later on. So try and get into more short-term contracts than long-term, again, because you don't know, even if it's more expensive, because it's better in an unsettled situation. So if a landlord wants a year lease, but you can negotiate a little higher rent, but for a shorter period of time, you may actually be better off. So think through all of that in terms of your long-term revenue. Shorten your receivable cycle, okay? So much better for you to get money than for you to wait to get the full profit that you want. So for example, if I said to you, Lysandra, I'm selling you this, and I'm supposed to get net 30 days or some payment structure say, but if you give me the money now, I'm actually selling it to you for 20%. So be biased towards getting the cash, because remember, anybody who has promised you money can also get into COVID trouble. So if I say, Lysandra, I'm going to send this for $100, and you come back to me and say, yeah, man, I'll pay $100, I pay in 30 days, 60 days, etc., etc. Then now 30 days, 60 days come and you don't have the money because your business is in trouble. I'm now in trouble. That's how the chain works.
Yeah.
So I say, all right, Lysandra, here's the thing. If you give me all of the money now, I won't charge you $100, I'll charge you $80, and make it attractive to Lysandra to give me the money now, right? So shorten your receivables cycle, even if you have to discount your price. Next, delay your payments for as long as you can, even if you have to incur additional costs. So anybody who will allow you to take a while to pay is a better situation than somebody's going to force you to pay now. So again, even if you have to pay additional charges, it's the time you're trying to manage on. Before, you focus only on the money. Right now, you're trying to focus on what we call the cash flow, right? What's in, what's out. Am I sure? Remember, your suppliers are at risk. Your receivables are at risk. Everything is at risk. And therefore, the more cash you're able to take in early versus delay the taking of cash, the better off you are.
Mm-hmm.
Shifting gears, because I know this is Lysandra's big mantra, and me and her always have fight about this. But she's absolutely right. I mean, I say we have fight, but in truth, I my humility to her teaching. So your network teaches itself, teaches each other. The whole issue of mental strength. You have to find the things that give you that mental strength, right? It can be a cup of coffee with a friend. It can be a big hug up with your mother. I know you can't hug up everybody now because they get COVID. But it can be more sex with your lover. It can be anything that you find gives you a kind of stability. Sometimes, for me, sometimes it's just a cocktail and music on a Sunday. My favorite music. You just put on the playlist and you just breathe. You turn off the phone, you turn off the WhatsApp, and you just and maybe put on the air condition for 5 minutes. Or you send some yours out of the house to go do something while you just spend the time to breathe. Or you find like a place round the back where nobody know about, under a tree, and you go grab your pillow or grab it and you go lie down. It could be just walking to the beach. It could be. So what is the thing that recenters you?
Yes.
Maybe it's just praying every day to Jesus, God, in the morning and at night. Maybe it's just pausing in the car, pulling over. Again, nobody have to know your business, and just saying, all right, I got this. I got this. You have to build in those rituals into your life, or the chaos will overwhelm you. And the chaos overwhelming you mentally will create additional chaos, and therefore complicate the situation. And always hope for the best, but prepare for the worst.
Yeah.
And my final thing is actually, here's the thing. Before you take a step, be clear about what your plan is in the what if. Okay, so I'm going to open, but if the Prime Minister announces 7 days of closure, this is what I will do.
Yes, scenario.
If the Prime Minister announces 14 days of closure, this is what I will do. If the Prime Minister changes the 14 back to 3, this is what I will do. So just be very clear about the various what ifs. By the way, what if? What if my key technology guy gets COVID? What if I get COVID? So think through exactly what you would do. And all of this is what you call an intellectual paper exercise. By the way, for those of you, give me a plug my friend Sandra. She's very good at helping people think through those issues. Of course, she's going to charge you like a money for it, So, just don't assume that is everybody that try the damn thing. But anybody who can, there are professionals who do this, help you think through, give your own capabilities, your own radar, etc. But sometimes, if a professional is not available to you, a thoughtful friend is also a good source. And then much of it, then you have to sit down by yourself, that lonely road of saying, what if this, what if that, then what would I do? The more you have the map laid out for yourself, the more when the surprise comes, you're actually not surprised because you're ready. You're ready.
Thank you for that, Nevada. That was extremely thorough. It was a wake-up call, a call to action. It was a sermon. It was fiery. It was everything. So I just want to summarize some of the key points for you guys to take away from this episode. The types of risk we face. 6 types of risk. Country risk, strategic risk, operational risk, compliance or regulatory risk, reputational risk of you and your business, and financial risk. The way to manage these risks, there are 4 strategies, 4 ways to manage risk. One is you can share the risk with others or transfer it to others. You can avoid the risk entirely, but that's not available to us right now during COVID. Reduce or mitigate the risk, and Nevada gave you 15 strategies to reduce the risk. Download the memo if you want to see them written down. And finally, accept the risk. We all have to accept that we are in a time of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And in order to navigate through these times, we need to plan. We need to write down our plan. We need to know what we're going to do in these different what if scenarios. And we need to manage ourselves so that we can survive and thrive through these times. So last word, Nevada, before I completely...
Just, Lissandra, just one thing that I think people are asking, how do they get the memo? Email us at sme@psoj.org. Once you're on that mailing list, you will actually be able to get the weekly memos. Remember, the show is all about you as a small business. It's almost like you're going back to school. sme@psoj.org will get you on a list that every week sends you a memo, a business memo that you can sit down and highlight and print out and do whatever you need to do. So that's kind of, and much of what I spoke about tonight is actually in this week's memo. So
I think everything is in there.
Yes.
Nevada wrote the memo, so make sure to download it. And Dr. Colette Smith, thank you so much for the big ups. Welcome back, Nevada. Excellent job, Lissandra. Thank you. Hugs for Rochelle. Yes, well-deserved rest. And the team behind the scenes, intelligent team, always on point. Sandra Palmer says, thanks, Team PSOJ. Very informative session. So, guys, we're planning something big for you in the next month or two. We are planning a conference on building wealth, building business wealth, building family wealth. We're talking about your money that's in the works. So make sure you join our mailing list so you know exactly when it's happening and you're the first to know when it's launched. We're very excited about it. And Nevada is one of the architects and the brains behind that conference. So you know it's going to be good. Thank you so much for joining us this week. We're going to be back again next week, same time, same place, 7:30 p.m. on a Thursday every week. We're going to be here with you. I'm back in the host chair next week. Thank you so much for engaging with us, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
So you have a great idea to start a business, but you don't know where to start. We completely understand. You have a lot of questions and almost no answers. Smallbusinessportal.com is here to help. At smallbusinessportal.com, you gain access to information on loans, grants, and investment opportunities from verified financial institutions. Guess what you also get? Useful business tips, access to training. All these services combine to make your business idea into a reality. Start your journey today at smallbusinessportal.com.
Do you want to level up your business?
Level up.
Join us on CovidCastJA every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. on Facebook and YouTube at PSOJ Financial Access Jamaica. And don't forget to follow us on all socials to interact with our weekly polls and Q&As.